afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another Propagandacast from your host, Imperial Dane. We're off here to the Monday novice fight, in this case on La Glaze Breakout. We shall be watching in one part of the map, Kentuckyron here, fighting for the 3rd Armored Division with the Mechanized Company, versus Commando, fighting for the Führer Grenadier Brigade with, I know, Breakthrough Special Operations Scavenge. Ooh, he's got Scavenge Tactics. Commando, or commenting on his opponent's doctrinal choices, and then making a bit of a strategic faux pas. That is, he's pretty much stating what he's going to do. Now, that's generally not something you'll want to do. Of course, it might be part of some, higher strategic deception play, but then, we wouldn't be here on a Monday, now would we, if that was actually the case. And it seems like here Kentuckyron, though, might have had a bit of too much of the Kentucky bourbon, and immediately sets about doing whatever he wants to, instead of realizing, my opponent just handed me his plan. I should now, conduct a more cunning plan. Instead, he might have gone, I have a cunning plan, and that is to play into his plan. Because he's right here seemingly still stuck on this, setting a fuel cache, which again is not something I'd ever recommend within the first few minutes, but he does it nonetheless with quite some flair. Goes for that truck, which is he's pretty much playing into that hand, instead of realizing, if my opponent is going for that, maybe there's some kind of counter strategy involving just flooding the field with infantry I could execute, because at this stage, we're seeing here that Commando is very much playing against that, like heading for barely any infantry, just sort of rushing for a few vital points. And already at this stage, here if he had just a bit more infantry, could probably already have been taking over most of the field. I maybe added in some bazookas afterwards, sort of, do some nasties. In fact, you go for several rear echelon units, maybe. So right here already there are a few sort of glimpses of perhaps things not being handled very well. Strategic, again, this is sort of more of a strategic novice fight. And again, one of them is, don't tell your opponent your plan, though in this case he does seem to have slightly me a bit there. Again, the problem here with also what Commando's doing is, of course, people have very little unit presence. Both sides do, and running into a small bike shit there is not necessarily the best either. Well, in this case, we do see the Dodge truck running out there with a 50 caliber and just pouring into the Sturmpioniere. We do manage a bit of damage. At the same time, he could have just run into the building and would have received a much greater bonus, and been a lot harder to kill there for the truck there. And there you go, repairing it. Another Sturmpioniere unit. Oh, already again trouble with holding the map, and that's even with that little infantry out. Again, had Kentuckyron, just basically gone, well, I'll just flood the field with men, soldiers, boots, rubber ducks. He's probably doing a lot better already here, but again, it's not like he's doing badly, but again, I do feel like he could be having a lot more fun at Commando's expense. Since again, Commando pretty much just handed him his entire strategy for at least a part of the game.
Good to go.
Instead of then, of course, playing for something with lots of infantry and then rushing for something that could handle the Puma a bit more solidly than, say, a Dodge truck with a 50 caliber, he's rather going the opposite way about it. Even with a fuel catch, he's rather holding back things a bit there initially. And he's switching up crews. He's setting in the rear echelon troops and then leaving the vehicle crew out there as an assault unit with submachine guns. Which I suppose is one way to go about it. Going here for the fuel point, try and harass, of course, delaying his opponent's fuel. Not a bad idea, of course, trying to give more time for his Puma plan. And there seems to be a slight more fortuitous thinking, or at least more foresightful thinking there, with a Kentuckyron for sort of being sent ahead. Short cover and mount. We're seeing a more focused push from besides that one unit here, which, by the way, is not being punished by, say, the M in the truck there. He could have been rushing in and forcing them away, but he's not. So another little slight detail there of some problems for Kentuckyron. There's no logical reason why we drive it all the way back to his base, by the way. Maybe except for have some units in, but even then, why not protect your fuel point? I wonder, why not protect your fuel point? And again, the lack of infantry is also making it a bit easier for Commando to then push through with his Sturmpioneers, wherever there's actually a little resistance there. And then he runs into the bike shit again. He seems to be very fond of that bike shit, by the way. Breakthrough has been chosen. Right, we need to get out of there. Sturm officer here. Schnell, Männer! Shoots him with fury. So right there, Kentuckyron's first stumbles there. He's in fact gone for 2 fuel casts. I mean, there's clearly some kind of rush again, but you know, at the same time, he could probably cheat the same way, you know, just protecting a few points and having more infantry out in the field in the end, instead of expending a lot of manpower on these things initially. So just another small fault then. Again, you know, he could be driving after the steel pioneers trying to find them instead of just stopping up, which is what he's then doing. So over there again, you know, more issues there for Kentuckyron. They do finally get the lieutenant out. Okay, now from the church. Not so grandly positioned though. It's a bit harder for it to sort of cover any vital points. I mean, you could easily get these areas cut again. Bang there the 50 caliber. Steel pioneers out in the open. They might want to consider pulling into cover. There we go. They're actually doing some damage there. Vehicle crews doing nothing. I mean, that's really a bit of a problem here already. Again, there's too many units not really achieving much. I mean, again, he's pretty much got the strategy handled, so to a certain extent he knows what he can do and can't do, and really he should be doing it, but apparently he isn't. Now climbing up units instead of again trying to sort of belt things up and again cut his opponent off from the resource. I mean, the faster he can do that, the better. I mean, you can just sneak about here and then cut him off again from the fuel. I mean, the more he can deny his opponent fuel, the better, because again, it's going to be further difficult for Commando to execute his strategy. Even if he's trading fuel for munitions again, he's got no territory to do so with. I mean, you know, he might as well not have any of that. 50 caliber position up here, but again, you know, real pressure, no real attempts at moving forwards. 50 caliber on the way. He could be getting, for example, an M20 now and lay down some anti-tank mines at right positions. That would also be an idea, because again, he knows what his opponent is getting. I mean, very much, if your opponent tells you that, you should try to sort of be acting on it, unless of course you're dealing with someone like Siberian against someone much higher ranking, in which case you probably know he's probably going to be pulling your leg, maybe. But there you go, he's being surrounded. Lieutenant here already wiped out within the first few minutes, not really well handled. Unit preservation there was a bit of an issue, again, in part due to again the current slightly confused strategy that Kentuckyron is playing with.
Our fighting position now has some ordnance behind it.
And did he just lose his truck? Apparently he did. Interesting. Or maybe he sent it back for a refit, which I suppose is also one way of doing things. There you go, 50 caliber supporting an infantry push, though apparently not. Anyways, I mean, Kentuckyron's actions seem a bit bourbon-soaked.
Has unlocked the Browning automatic rifle.
Now he's taking up for the Browning. I mean, not a bad idea. There again, Apart would also say, you know, he knows his opponent's getting again. He's told him he's getting Pumas. Some bazookas on the reactionary troops might be a wiser idea. Of course, that is merely my opinion. Also, right here again, now he's just sending in its piecemeal, which again is something you want to be careful, in particular sending in your 50 caliber machine gun into enemy territory where you're not entirely sure what's waiting it. Also, rear echelon troops the same way, more or less, particularly when you actually know there's a lot of nasty units there still on pioneers, Panzer Fusiliers. In this case, the 50 caliber simply can't fire away fast enough. So we know overall this is rather poorly executed there by Kentuckyron. In fact, he just threw away a 50 caliber into his opponent's lap. Again, you know, a rather novice tactical mistake of the higher order. So generally giving your opponent a 50 caliber machine gun is something you'll want to avoid if possible.
Krauts are taking one of our points.
And finally we actually have a Puma out now for Commando. He's been rushing forward, and again his opponent really hasn't done much to only forestall that or somehow hold that back. Jump is moving in, should target those. In fact, should retreat the rifleman.
P-47 spun up and ready for reconnaissance flight.
Looks like he's taking up for the captain now. Maybe finally reacting a bit to the fact that there might be a Puma on the way. Maybe. Maybe. But over to Commando. who's now acting man somehow a slightly healthier force because he hasn't expended a lot of resource towards this, and he's also been handling his units in a bit more coordinated manner compared to Kentuckyron. Puma firing away in there, folks, on the H2 on Pioneers. The Sturm Officer not really doing much near the front line, it would seem, for the time being. Battle Group headquarters going up. Captain out, he might be able to put a bit of fear of Uncle Sam into that Puma, but only a bit. Beyond that, of course, we'll have to see what awaits. Beyond that, we'll have to see what awaits.
The command vehicle has gone static. HQ operations now underway.
Ambulance healing. By the way, he's popping out the medics to basically do it automatically. So that's a neat little way of doing it, I suppose. But again, he's actually now losing territory, despite again having, you know, strategic tactical advantage and initiative. He's rather so far managed to actually only squander it. So that's rather a bit unfortunate there for Kentuckyron. And he's, by the way, you know, he's got the vehicle crew, but now he's actually doing nothing with it. That also be, you know, is a bit problematic since, you know, traded a re-echelon unit for it. Yet he's doing nothing with this grease gun unit, equipped unit there. The grease gun basically a sort of attempt at making something similar to an MP40 that's a cheap, effective submachine gun. Floating a bit of manpower there. No, by the way, attempt at, for example, replacing the Lost Lieutenant, which could otherwise be quite effective. Jump on is a bit too slow to retreat, then got wiped out. 50 caliber here. In the fighting position, being under attack for Volkswagen, and another 50 caliber. Volkswagen actually ought to be a bit careful there. They are rather exposed out in the open. There goes Jump on out in the open as well. Be careful fighting out in the open versus units with BARs. No, though he actually did equip 2 BARs on this, creating a very effective fighting unit that way versus infantry anyways. Now we've got the Kentuckyron to try and deal with this fighting position. And that's a bit the danger, of course, leaving a fighting position on its own. It generally should be part of a larger defence, not be the only defence there, because poor Mr. Jack is about to get blown to Kingdom Come. And he's getting a third fuel cache. Again, there seems to be some kind of, you know, he wants to rush Rama, but the way he's having trouble at holding the map and, you know, pressing his opponent, he's not really getting much out of that rush. In particular, he could easily risk now that each of the fuel caches easily gets taken up because he's not got enough forces to hold it back. Also, knowing 2 Panzer Fusilier units out here for Commando. Coming on a bit of fire here. Nice position near the Browning automatics in the nearby building. Give air for the fleet on the way. He should focus him down instead of the MNF inside the building. Choose your targets, mate. Choose your targets. Oh, he didn't. Rather disappointing there in Kentuckyron again, you know. Target prioritization is a good thing. Stuart light tank is out. I'm not entirely sure that's the most effective choice against the Puma, by the way. Though he does also have an anti-tank gun, which is better. Looks like he could get that Panzer Fusilier unit. And there we go, Told. Dieter did not make it. You got the Sturm Officer here. And he storms out of there, in fact. Not an entirely bad idea. Holding back the Puma here, probably also seeing the anti-tank gun, so that's not a bad idea. And there you go, grenades have been upgraded here. The riflemen are in a rather poor position. Very low, they hopefully should retreat them and get them healed up. And now, he's sending in the steward. He knows there's a Puma about here somewhere. He should have seen it by now. He's sending in his steward to deal with that. Oh, no. He should at the very least have the anti-tank gun to support. I mean, there's a bit of disjunction again between his units. Just sends units one at a time. There's no real overall arching coordination between the different units, which is a bit unfortunate. And again, riflemen could do with being sent back for healing and reinforcement. And again, the vehicle crew could do, you know, a bit more at the front line. They could actually help repair the thing then. They could shoot down some infantry. So overall, again, there's some issues there from Kentuckyron. And there go Panzer Fusiliers get the job on the anti-tank gun crew. Jones went down. Trudging through the snow there. Nice bit of shooting going on there. Advancing up the street. Quickly detail you cover from the market stall. And there you go, we got the captain inside the building. A nice blocking position for any light vehicles like, say, the Puma. Stuka zu Fuß on the way. Whoops. And he actually pulled it back for refitting. I suppose that's one way of doing it as well. Now, we've now got plenty of manpower again. He really should expend some of that instead of floating. I mean, a pack out and a tank. And again, the lieutenant would also be a great choice. I mean, the lieutenant is always pretty much a solid choice to have for the Americans because you get a free VAR and a Thompson submachine gun on a unit, which holds the veterans up reasonably solidly. Plus the veterans bonus is just good. I mean, the lieutenant really is absolutely amazing to have as the Americans, and really something you should always aim to replace if possible. Since you essentially get the Browning automatic and the Thompson at a discount. In particular, if you consider sort of compared to a regular rifle squad, which is 280, and he doesn't cost much more than that. I think maybe cost 320. There goes Stuka zu Fuß out. Maybe not what I'd recommend there for Commando. But it's time for the mid-game analysis. Current situation here is a bit, you know, Kentuckyron and the 3rd Armour is in a bit of a pinch. Again, due to Kentuckyron's rather peculiar strategy. He's rather lost a lot of training. He's not been able to, again, take advantage of any of the sort of, you know, advantage he's been given to him by his opponent to a larger extent, and sort of also rather been feeding him units piecemeal, which only allowed, you know, Commando, who's played a lot more, you know, coherently, which is also, I think, Kentuckyron has a bit of a problem with, you know, a lot of easy kills, but also, you know, say, for example, giving him a 50 caliber machine gun. In this case, he seems a bit intent on maybe handing it back to his American opponent, maybe feeling a bit sorry for him, though apparently not enough of his men who apparently are going to get killed to do it. But all sort of dominating the map, I mean, very well there. And again, I mean, for Commando, again, I'm not too keen on that one, but that's about it, really. Beyond that, I mean, another MNF and Infantry could also be away, you know, some bit of light artillery there. Oh, this is another infantry squad might be an idea on top of everything. I mean, he might also want to set trade for fuel again and maybe slowly build his way up towards, say, a Schwere Panzer quarters and some Obersoldaten. And maybe if this turns out for a longer match, a Panther. No, that's just merely a minor suggestion. He could also do with using his Puma a bit more aggressively. I mean, he's rather holding it back an awful lot, which is rather, you know, meaning he's not getting an awful lot out of it. Which again then begs the question again, why did his sickness opponent go for it again, though? I mean, there's really sort of, you know, some intention, all that rather laid out, but apparently in the end never really quite followed. It's a bit of a mix there, a bit of a mess. As for Kentuckyron, again, his forces really have been taking a beating. He's again been throwing away units left and right. There's been some serious issues there with unit preservation, unit tactics, unit cohesion. And again, we got this very much strong intention of rushing towards armor, and in the end, by this stage, it's not really much of a rush. And again, it's been ruined because he can't maintain map control. I mean, he's been doing too much towards fuel caches to not have a solid force which can actually hold the map, more in particular the fuel points. I mean, here's the thing, had he just gone for both fuel points, then he'd probably be getting the same amount of resources, and he just built those 3 fuel caches. And do you see where I'm going? I mean, had he just gone for a lot more infantry, preserved infantry, but had some more support weapon, maybe a captain anti-tank guns, he'd been doing a lot better. Instead, we see him is basically going through every single tier and not really made much out of any of them. In the end, gone too much resources and fuel caches, overall not having a solid grasp on that, again allowing Commando to actually get back on the field pretty solidly. I mean, you have to be very careful when you think these things out. And again, you have to be mindful of, you know, caches like this, due to a certain extent trade-off map control, in particular go for too many of them too early on, which is rather what's happened here. So in this case, I mean, Kentuckyron is only doing it easier for his opponents, but again, being given that initial strategic massive advantage of his opponent, telling him what he's going to do. So really there are some nasty headaches there going on. But back to the fight here. I mean, for Kentuckyron though, he needs to sort of pull things together, get some anti-tank guns out, I think, get this one recruit, get another, get lieutenant, get more infantry out in the field, maybe another pair of BARs, punish infantry hard, try to lure the Puma into a sort of killing zone, and get him that way. Also push hard for both few points. Back to Commando, back to the fight here. Not entirely sure what Commando here is thinking with his 50 caliber though. apparently Commando wasn't sure either. And there you go, Stukas was firing. Captain escapes here in the nick of time as everything collapses in a huge storm of splinter and fire. And we go going for the fuel point, about bleeding time. 50 come on the way, Major arriving. I mean, he's still got the vehicle crew doing absolutely bugger all. Again, why did you then pop them out if you're going to do nothing with them? Come on, Kentuckyron. Do something with these poor gentlemen. They could actually be of a bit of use against some of these the lighter units with the submachine guns. I mean, they'll probably get murdered by the Sturmpioneers, and to some extent those Panzerfuzzers with Gewehr fleets will probably also give them the jackboot to the face. 50 caliber versus 50 caliber. And again, you know, he's sending in his 50 caliber, and I mean, generally don't send in support units like that. They are support units, which means they support other units. Not that you're meant to send them in on their own. And now again, now we can really see the issue here, the sort of strategy again with Kentuckyron. His fuel caches are not very much exposed, about get wasted, wrecked. Sturmpioneers moving in, forces need to get their act together. Re-echelon units out on their own. Easy targets there for the Panzerfuzzler. Oh, find something happening. By the way, rushing into range of Sturmpioneers. I'm thinking about tier 2 ones are not necessarily on the wise idea there. And now his units do end up taking a lot of damage. Rabin needs to retreat. Zurückfallen. And out in front of the give. Oh. There we go. Poorly executed infantry assault there. I mean, use cover. Don't stand out in the open. All that. Again, some issues there for Kentuckyron in terms of infantry assault execution. I mean, he could easily, you know, for example, just run into the building right next to the Panzerfuzzers. He'd probably been doing a lot better with that, in particular down with the branding automatics. But again, you know, just charging across open ground, making himself a very easy target. Oh! Major went down. He took a major rocket to the face. And that was terrible. Captain moving up there, maybe home to get vengeance for his commanding officer. They're not really set up well to get off some good rockets there. 50 caliber coming at the centre. Good job there. He's actually slightly managed to push forwards nonetheless. Getting bazookas. Finally, just that, you know, took him ages, but again, still the vehicle crew is doing nothing at all. And he really should retreat the captain now. There we go. And he still needs more infantry. He's rather this stage bleeding. He's got tons of manpower. He's got tons of manpower. He's got hundreds of manpower. Yet he's doing nothing with it. No captain, no more infantry, no nothing. I mean, really, he should just be flooding the field now with as many troops as possible. Nice grenade here, by the way. Though, rather, the game didn't quite follow up with the niceness of it. And why didn't have the 50 caliber covering here as well is beyond me. Again, he said not having the units cover each other. That's really, you know, the essence of a good defense, and these weapons working together. Instead, we're quite looking at the opposites. The 50 caliber couldn't cover the Ren. He otherwise, again, he's moving across in a very small space. If he knew that, why didn't have the 50 caliber cover it as well? That could really make things a lot more unpleasant for Commando and his Soldaten. And apparently, someone got the leg shredded thanks to a 50 caliber. But the Pumas are not really doing much despite, you know, all the bold intentions and the strategy towards playing it. So I mean, in that regard, I have to say that's kind of a bit of a failure there on Commando's behalf. They're taking back victory points, about time as well. Captain moving up as an own. Veterans to 3 Sturmpioneers. Lovely. They might want to pull back here, the captain. Never mind, the Sturmpioneers moving across them again, not taking up safe positions in the building. Makes it only easy here for the captain and friends. Apparently the Sturm officer's leadership in the end turns to be the turning moment. And we've got a Sherman out. Alright, so we've got a tank. Looking a bit better there. There's still plenty of manpower that could be spent on, say again, a lieutenant. Sherman opens up there with its main gun. And a bit the coaxial. Clearly not high explosive rounds. And there you go, Puma opens up there on the Sherman. Sherman pulls it back slightly. Another hit there from the Puma. Needs to keep pulling it back, mate. You're allowing your opponent too many free hits there. Not entirely sure what he's got in mind there.
Support gun deployed. Crew ready for orders.
Rushing in here until maybe getting repaired. Ultra spare pencil, of course, going up. Doing that turbo, there we go. Kentuckyron. Again, plenty of manpower. But apparently not willpower to use it. Solar Kid may have a snap for Commando. Puma moving in here. Repairing the Sherman with the rear echelon troops. Note he's probably gone all to explosive rounds. That's not bad, but there we go again. The Sherman is very much on its own in a very much exposed position. And right here we do see the Commando sort of trying to attack it from several angles. That's good, by the way. That is good. Puma here set up to ambush the retreat while the infantry moves in to flush it out from the front. Good job there. Good job there. Sherman needs to pull back. Looks like he might not make it. Oh, shot bounced off. And again, also he should not be climbing up the troops so close to each other. And then again, if you can just dodge it, I mean that's been the weakness of the Stukas of Fus. Very much the weakness is shooting in a straight line. If you have an idea of the line, you know you can dodge it pretty easily. He might lose the Puma here. Stop up with it. Bazooka men, stop, shoot. Maybe have the rifle moving up there. Get off an anti-tank rifle grenade. Anti-tank rifle, yes, there we go. Puma abandoned even. But the flak crew there sorts it out, so no worries. Better move on the Panzer Fusiliers. Rifle needs to retreat. Get out of there, men. Those 24 Storm Pioneers are not to be messed with. But again, we are seeing again that Commando's overall still solidly in the lead. He's overall been displaying a lot better unit placement. Oh, he's finally using the vehicle crew there. Took him long enough. Again, I rather feel like that's been another waste of resources, which really seems to be Kentuckyron's, you know, mark of conduct so far. Commando sort of slowly advancing, clearing out the fuel caches, the rest of them. Overall, I mean, he hasn't really made much use of his commander. I mean, sure, I can understand why not getting a half-track assault group is at the moment not really viable, but you know, he might have done a bit more with it earlier. But again, he might have done a bit more with all the resources he has. He could easily get another anti-tank gun. I mean, he still has some. Oh, that might unsalvaged actually. Never mind. Still, anti-tank guns. A howitzer could also done him a bit of well. But again, nothing happens. Nothing materializes. .50 caliber coming from the north. Sherman moving up. Nice hit. Oh, completely wiped out the 50 caliber crew. Bad news there for Fritz. Not sure why he's moving in like Kedneff like that, though. That's pretty much begging his opponent to take it. And again, units out in the open versus units in heavy cover, not the best of ideas. In particular, not veteran units. And again, Kentuckyron's infantry tactics are quite lacking. Got the officer nearby to sort of provide a bit of influence there for the Soldaten. And a nice anti-tank rifle grenade. Managed to take it in the Sherman. In this case, if say he had the vehicle crew nearby, he could have them run and use the repair critical ability. It's a very underused ability, but again, it pretty much allows you to just fix engine damage, for example. Which is actually a very handy ability, and in many cases, vehicles isn't safe because, you can't fix the bloody engine damage and get to safety quickly enough. In this case, due to decent awareness of where it is, you basically managed to hit with a rocket barrage there from the Wolfrahmen.
Armor ready. Tank support is here. Sherman ready.
Second Sherman up.
You're starting to get under.
He's repairing regularly. Really, I would suggest using repair critical first, then pulling back the Sherman for proper repairs. So in this case, fire off some smoke, then pull away. Don't try to engage it. Even with high explosive rounds, that's a bit of a risky maneuver when there's so little on health. And the Kentuckyron is already better too. And never mind. Punch check there from the side to sort it out.
We're filling with smoke. We just lost a medium tank.
That could have been executed better. To be fair. Let's show him going forwards with the high explosive rounds. Bring the Shermans forwards. And what is this? Taking directions from the Kentuckyron. Trying to engage it. I mean, if he's going to do it, he should drive straight at it and get past it. He shouldn't be standing in front of him, particularly once it hits Veteran 2 again, As soon as that Kentuckyron hits Veteran 2, it becomes a lot more dangerous for him because it's high rate of fire. And there you go, another Sherman lost, Captain lost.
A medium tank was just lost.
Vehicle crew still pretty much doing bugger all, and there we go, Kentuckyron surrendered, giving up the Ghost, giving up their fight, and I mean, thus the Monday Novice fight ends, and again, we saw a lot of more interesting issues there in terms, again, partly information, strategy, tactics. There was a lot of flawed strategy from both sides. So again, the less flawed one was essentially the Commandos, partly because this was more coherent, also a bit more on the ground and on what's actually going on in reality, and sort of had a more solid grasp of the basics, whereas Kentuckyron was much more, I get fuel, I get tanks, and then apparently there wasn't really any connecting behind them, because he ended up trading off a lot of territory, which allowed his opponent to get enough fuel to get back in the fight. Instead of, say, getting off troops on the field, sort of that way go for armor as well. And in particular, knowing what his opponent just said, he could have made some deductions from and then punched his opponent further. In the end, I mean, he was given the perfect opportunity to beat his opponent easily there, but he failed to take it. Because really, again, that was a massive failure there by Commando in the first few seconds of the game. Oh, hey, I'm rushing for Pumas. Kindly don't do anything to me, dear sir. That might make that problematic. And in particular, also say, I'm reacting to this because of the that truck you have, which also could indicate he might take some measures towards that, which you could then avoid. So, I mean, there really were some serious issues there in sort of, deductive power going on from both of them, as you might be figuring out. And certainly, I mean, also just unit preservation into tactics. I mean, Kentuckyron really fell through several times. He also was sending units one at a time, support units in particular. There was no real coherence, no real tactics, sort of a larger scale, no coverage between them. And again, that was something that Commando did perform better overall, ensuring he didn't waste units left and right. He could have done more with the Puma, which he actually rushed for, and again, as now he would rush for, and that was rather, I think, one minor failure there from him, and could have been done better. He did make good use of the Sturm Officer though, so that's pretty neat and pretty nice. And again, another failure again, the vehicle crew. I mean, overall, also in comparison, I mean, I wouldn't say either player made good use of their commanders. I mean, he could use breakthrough tactics a bit. I mean, overall, both of them didn't do much with it. That was a bit disappointing. But there you go. Hope you enjoyed this fight, and of course, more importantly, I hope you learned something from this fight. I hope you got better at the game because of this fight. I hope you managed to sort of clear out some of your own mistakes because of this fight. And if you did, why not subscribe? Tell your friends, shout it with everyone. If not, send in a replay. You do provide a link to the leaderboards. Otherwise, feel free to provide feedback in the comments. Also, feel free to disable ad block, or if you're really insistent on it, feel free to donate because I have to make a living out of this somehow. So feel free to donate. There's a link to it on PayPal down in the video description. In fact, there's a lot of things in the video description. So, this is Imperial Dane saying cheers.